Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been on a hiatus for a while, and you guys know I'm messing around learning game development. It's a very interesting and frustrating, venture in itself, but I really do like the process. And, I appreciate the fact that I'm in a community of gamers where from time to time I can hop in and play the Division. I appreciate my clan so much. They have been taking good care of me, because it's very hard for you to be able to deal with all of those proxies together by yourself. So LCN Clan, shout out to you guys. Whenever I need a raid or a party to run with, there are a bunch of people that are very happy to help. So link in the description, by the way, if you want to join the clan and check out the Discord. I can definitely recommend that, the clan is there to basically help in this game. Now, in terms of the Division, we have basically endured a long silence from the devs. Now, this, in my opinion, has probably been by circumstance or by both circumstance and by design. That being, perhaps what happened in 2020 probably delayed a whole bunch of stuff. And then now the developers probably couldn't move forward with a lot of their plans. And now everybody's got to shut up until they understand and find out what it is that they're able to deliver to the community. I think this is probably what we're dealing with right now. So Yannick has finally come out and said, hey, we're working hard. Terry has come out and said, hey, we're working hard. And by the way, Terry is doing something in regard to Heartlands. And there are people in the community who've said that's okay for them. And there are people in the community who've said that's not enough for them. Some people have said, in their minds, they just feel like, they have no respect for the developers because of a lot of things that have happened in the past. So there's just a lot of mixed feelings in the Division community. But for my video today, I really wanted to go ahead and address something that will deal with progress. Now, this new content that is supposedly coming to the Division, this new game mode, what the scope and the scale of it is, I don't necessarily know. And to be very honest, I would always encourage everybody to keep expectations really, really low. This reduces the amount of disappointment that you eat if you go ahead and, hype yourself up for nothing. So just keep your expectations really low. Like, if you want some benchmark to keep your expectations low, let me just say, go with the summit level of expectations. Whatever the summit was to you, whether it was great or whether it was not, I would probably use that as a benchmark and then kind of stay a little bit underneath it. If you get what I mean, that might keep you in a place where once they drop the content, and if it's not as good, then you're fine. But if it's better, then even great. And so I think, in my opinion, that there are things that they could leverage to make this content worthwhile. It doesn't necessarily have to be big. It just really has to work in regard to what the community is looking for. So there are two things I'll discuss in this video. One of them is something that I feel that if the developers are bringing this new game mode that has never been seen in the Division before, I think that new game mode needs to adopt the spirit of one of the most popular game modes in this entire franchise, which is the Division Survival. Now, I say that because the core mechanics of survival is, something that is actually quite interesting. I'm not saying they have to bring survival because already they've said that it's a game mode that's never been seen in the Division, but the mechanics of survival are very critical for them to implement in something like this. Now, why am I appealing for the mechanics of survival? I'm appealing for the mechanics of survival because survival encompassed what you'll call the PvP and the PvE side of a very fun and interesting game mode. So whenever they're bringing this game mode out, I, in my opinion, would hope that they will be wise enough to implement a PvP and a PvE side of this game mode. In my opinion, whatever else it is that this game mode is going to, require or feature or focus on, I think it still needs to highlight that spirit of having those two aspects of the game highlighted at the core. Now, yes, the Division 2 is a heavily strong, emphasized PvE game. I will argue this point every time, and not necessarily because I just feel like arguing, even though I like to argue, but this is something that we've seen as the crux of the game. PvE has received a lot of the attention, has enjoyed a lot of the focus. PvE has pretty much been what's received a lot more attention from the developers in their philosophy. So that's why I strongly say that it's a PvE-based game. Unlike the Division 1, we did have a lot of PvP elements to it and did highlight a lot of PvP sides to it. So those are things that we really have to understand when we're establishing this conversation. But again, what I've also realized is a lot of the PvP community are happy to engage in all the content in the game, it doesn't necessarily, negate the fact that they do enjoy PvE in many cases, even though some will jeer and snare at it and say, after I'm done with PvE, I don't want to deal with it anymore. But again, if there was a highlight of this PvP side, potentially it could allow for the entire community to just experience whatever the heck this game mode is from both perspectives, and at least enjoy, or at least, if anything, just try out the other side of things and then make up their minds and make decisions going on from there. So I think this is something that the developers definitely have to add to the game. So that's number one. Number two, what kind of progression mechanics are they going to introduce when this new game mode or whatever it is released? I strongly believe that the Shade Watch was actually a decent way to, keep players to continue to play. Even though some players have approached like Shade level 17, some even more in the double digit of thousands in terms of their Shade level. I think they can actually leverage some more mechanics that allows for progression that players can feel like they can continue to do, and use the grind as a means to continue to push their players forward and push their players to be a little bit more stronger into the game. Now, yes, the Shade Watch is already kind of capped out at 1,000 Shade level, and some people have actually extended past that 1,000 Shade level. So what is the benefit of having, a progression mechanic that can allow for you as an agent to have more base stats to be increased? I think they can do some really cool stuff, like give you another gadget. So you already have Keener's Watch. That's, a gadget that you basically didn't have in the past. They can add another accessory that does have another set of talents or another set of stats that you can improve or increase as you continue to grind, get XP, and all of that. Now, this sounds like a very simple mechanic. This sounds like something that some people may not even want. But I can tell you that there's a very solid part of the community that would like to keep their players at the max possible power. This is definitely something that, here in the game that, we would love to see and would at least keep players playing. Now, it sounds really boring, though, that you just have that one mechanic. I know, I get it. You're going to be like, so what am I going to do? Am I going to grind out all these same control points, all these same missions, and all these same activities just to get the Shade level up? Well, the answer is kind of yes, unless they add, say, the legendary missions that we were kind of, in a sense, told about that will be, being dropped for the remaining strongholds. Then it's going to be very challenging for you to find anything new other than this so-called new game mode to play. Now, if the game mode is robust, if the game mode does have a lot of aspects to it and it's a lot of fun, then I see players being able to use that as a way or a means to get their XP. But if that's not the case, then, the progression at least will allow for players to want to improve their power. And then those that are more dedicated in, raids and speed runs are able to benefit from that. But in my opinion, these are the really few things that I believe the developers can add to whatever it is that they have planned that they're bringing for the community down the road. And I really think it will really change, or at least improve kind of the perception, or at least the quality of this new content that's coming. And again, as a bonus in terms of this conversation, whatever this new content is, there will still be a segment of the community that probably won't like it. I'm even throwing myself in that category because, yeah, the summit was fun, but I found out that I didn't necessarily play a lot of it. I don't know if it's because it just never was as interesting as the legendary missions to me, or if it was as, it was just not as catchy as, say, the control points and the other things. I can't say I didn't necessarily like it, but it didn't necessarily draw me in extensively. So I'm expecting that this new content may put me in that same category. So that's something that we need to also look at and just say, it might be one of those things where a lot of the community don't like it, but the developers have to make sure that it's a content piece that is free, and it's a content piece that is at least enjoyable and has progression and highlights those mechanics that I've actually talked about in the beginning, which is PvE and PvP. I'll talk to you guys in another video. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? How do you think this content needs to drop? What do you think it needs to highlight? What do you think the developers need to make sure are components of this new content piece? Talk to me in the comment section. We'll see in another video. Thank you so much. Peace out.